don't have the ability to make informed choices about where they live, then it seems to me that their priorities are skewed a little bit. The possibility of terrorists getting a hold of this as opposed to thousands of people being put at risk on a daily basis.
So what happens going forward? Because there are 33 other plants that are chemical facilities in Texas. We know that, according to Congressional Research Service data, 1 million residents across the country live near 89 chemical facilities nationwide. But they're in Texas. What is the thinking going forward with the 33 plants there?
Well, that's the subject of hearings going on in Austin before the state legislature right now. Obviously, they want to tighten procedures. In fact, there are 112 facilities in the state of Texas that have large stores of ammonium nitrate. 44 of them reported storing more than 10,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate. So it's all over the state.
You know, what impact is this having on the state? We know that your governor, Rick Perry, has been barnstorming the country, trying to drum up business because of Texas's friendly to business regulatory climate. We heard about that when he was a presidential candidate. Now the Sacramento Bee in California has written an editorial cartoon which they say it makes fun of him. He says it makes fun of the explosion in West, but it pretty much shows Governor Perry saying business is booming. On either side you see signs that say low tax, low regulations, and then the next panel reads boom, business is booming. What impact is this having on business in Texas?
Well, you know, the Texas business community is never going to turn down an offer from a company outside the state to move into Texas. They're going to open their doors and do everything they can to make that possible. The issue at hand is whether the governor and the legislature are putting a higher priority on attracting business than they are on public safety. And it goes across the board. I mean, if you go down to the Galveston, Texas City, Houston area, the levels of emissions from the refineries down there far exceed federal limits, and the state of Texas is constantly battling with the EPA over what is an acceptable limit and what is an enforceable limit. So this is an ongoing battle.
Todd Robertson, editorial writer at the Dallas Morning News. I think I heard in the background here a train going by.
Yes. I will say a train that regularly carries highly toxic, highly volatile chemicals right through downtown Dallas.
It was sounding romantic there for a second. Todd, thanks so much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
So, there are over 80 plants nationwide, as we said. Are you eyeing one warily, or do you think your town has a handle on the one you do? Let us know at HereNow.org. Meanwhile, quick note, tomorrow on Here and Now, why does the Family Medical Leave Act allow time off to have a child, but not to mourn a child? We'll take that up tomorrow. And before we go today, we'll hear for the first time from the organizers of the Boston Marathon. They are going forward, as you'll hear. Here and Now.
Good afternoon. This is Michigan Radio. I'm Mike Perini. Catch up on all the news of the day on All Things Considered from 4 till 6:30 this afternoon. This is American Life.
Hey, I heard a fellow, he was laughing. He was laughing across the country like a dummy. I pushed him down, and he kept on going on it, and then pushed him.
Andrew decided to walk across the country interviewing people around the world, which is a premise for a radio story which almost never works. This time it does. Listen. This American Life, this Saturday afternoon at 1. In weather today, West Michigan will have increasing cloudiness with a chance of rain and thunderstorms. The rest of the region will have mostly sunny skies through the day. Support for Michigan Radio comes from the Hope and Rose Theater, presenting 33 variations by Moises Patman now through June 1st. This play explores a woman's journey of self-discovery through her research on Beethoven. PurpleRoseTheater.org. This is Michigan Radio, and it's 1:49.
It's Here Now. And in a moment, Boston Marathon race director Dave McGilvery, the face of the race, gives his first public interview since the marathon bombings. But first, a question promoted by the investigation. As we reported yesterday, the Kazakh college students who were friends with the surviving suspected Boston bomber had been jailed after the bombings because their student visas were revoked because of failing grades. And the Boston Globe is reporting that played out in court when they were re-arrested yesterday on charges that they'd obstructed justice by throwing out items from Jahar Sanaya's dorm room. Lawyer Robert Stahl disputed the notion that his client, Dias Katabayev, was no longer a student.
He was a student. He's a sophomore engineering major at the University of Massachusetts. He did not attend classes regularly, as the allegation, later in this semester. So he's been in this country legally for a technical violation of a student visa for not regularly attending classes.
The other student, Azmat Tabiakov, raised bigger questions. He traveled out of the country for winter break and was allowed back in without a visa. As the judge said yesterday, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it turns out students are given 30 days once back in the country to fix their visa status, and his lawyer said his visa was reinstated after he switched majors. Meanwhile, the Homeland Security officials say they've recently reformed the student visa system to provide real-time updates. We'll see if this story has steam going forward. Also today, Mass Bay Community College is remembering bombing victim Crystal Campbell, a 2005 graduate of that school. They're going to honor her with an annual scholarship in her name. The reward will go to a business major from Massachusetts who submits an essay about resiliency, making a difference, generosity of spirit, and overcoming obstacles.
As the Boston Marathon bombing investigation unfolds, thousands of people are streaming by the memorial to the victims.
Here now is Alex Ashlock.
The memorial is set up in Copley Square Park in downtown Boston. That's not far from the finish line, where the bombs exploded on April 15th, killing 3 and injuring more than 200. Tom O'Connor of Doylestown, Pennsylvania, was there yesterday.
I was actually in New Jersey when 9/11 happened, and really close to home. So I figured since I was in the area, I might want to come, pay a little respect to what happened here, and kind of just see it for what it is,
The Boston Athletic Association has been in charge of the Boston Marathon for 117 years, so the bombing hit close to home for them. And now officials from the organization are speaking publicly for the first time since the bombings. They're saying they're not ready to provide details about next year's race, but they did reflect on last month's tragedy. Tom Grilk has been the finish line announcer for 35 years. He had left the area to get ready for an award ceremony when the bombs exploded. Grilk says he and his colleagues are still trying to come to terms with what happened that day.
We, like everyone, are trying to make sense out of that horrible set of events. At the same time, we are extraordinarily grateful for the actions of first responders, of the medical people, of our volunteers, of the spectators, of all the people who moved so quickly to respond amidst all of that horror for which we all feel so terrible. At least there is a sense of gratitude in seeing the kind of reaction that it engendered.
That's Tom Grilk, Executive Director of the Boston Athletic Association. He and a longtime marathon race director, Dave McGilvery, are the public faces of the Boston Marathon. Combined, they have a nearly 80-year connection to the race, either as runners or officials. McGilvery still runs the race every year. He does it when his race duties are done at the finish line. He leaves the finish line, heads back out to the starting line, and runs the marathon himself with a few friends. That was something he didn't get to do on April 15th. McGilvery shared some of his thoughts on the marathon bombing with me yesterday.
Like everyone else around the country, around the world, we're still heartbroken with what occurred on April 15th. In any tragedy, everyone looks for coping skills. How do you cope with this? And for us here at the office, we've had to continue to focus on the task at hand